Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hot for Teacher. This is episode number 22. 22. Welcome. Come on in, sit down, hang out. We're going to talk about relationships today. Yes, that's right. Relationships. Those things that we pay character points for when we make our character. And then the DM takes them away from us or makes them betray us. No, that's the other show. That's the other one. This is the one about actual relationships. So today we're going to talk about, I'm going to answer some questions. That's what Hot for Teacher is about. So the way this show works is that you, lovely viewers, have been submitting your questions to me in text form, and I have been answering them. I've been answering them 3 at a time for the last 21 weeks. And we hang out and we talk about relationships. And I want to make it clear, and I try to do this every episode, that the reason I do this is not to solve your relationship problems, right? This isn't like, Adam, I'm having a problem, fix it for me, because I can't do that. I can help. I can try to give you some perspective. We can talk about things. I can offer up my experience, but just like in office hours, I can't DM your group for you. I can't solve the problems you might be having, but I can hopefully bolster your resolve and give you some stuff to think about. And hopefully you'll be able to do that for each other too, right? Hot for Teacher and the answers to these questions, they're not the be all and end all, right? They are the beginning of a conversation. You write in, you ask me questions, I answer them, and we all kind of talk about these things because there's some fairly common stuff. When we get to question number 3, we'll talk more about this sort of commonality of questions. But if you have a question that you want to ask, if you have a conversation you would like us to have here on Hot for Teacher, go to www.adam-koble.com. Click on that Hot for Teacher link. You can fill out the form. You can do it anonymously. You can tell me your name. Either one is fine. You can give me your cool internet hacker alias. Whatever is comfortable for you, and then we're going to talk about it. And these questions are about all kinds of relationships, not just the sexy romance kind, but friendships and coworker relationships, and as we'll find out today, internet relationships. So our first question got to jump the queue because I thought it was particularly interesting. It came in just a little while ago, and it came in, and I thought this was a great question, and one deeply pertinent to me, and if you're watching this on Twitch, probably to you too. Not the band. I don't answer questions for Bono. All right, let me read to you this question. I recently became a moderator for a community that I've been part of for quite a long time. My primary concern with this change is that, having been granted a position of power, this is likely to complicate my ability to build and maintain relationships within the community space, as well as establish new ones. I'm especially conflicted about this because most of the people that I interact with on a regular basis is part of this community and its adjacent spaces. I expect this will differ to an extent from person to person, and that just saying, let's just act like nothing's changed, it doesn't really work for most people, especially when it's the person in a position of authority making the statement. It's a great point. What sorts of considerations do you make when building relationships in which one person is in a position of power, such as in the case of moderator for a community? How might these considerations differ in a situation where the power or authority differential isn't initially present, but later introduced into an environment where relationships have already formed? From Claire. So, this is a great question. And I think that it applies. I mean, Claire is asking, so for folks who may not be familiar already, so Claire is a recent addition to the moderation squadron, the team of mods for the Math Squad, for my online community, the community you yourself may be a part of. Claire moderates the Discord and the Twitch chat, and is someone that I put forth to the community saying, this is someone to look up to. Claire communicates in a way that I think is positive for this community and handles herself in a way that I would like you to take example from. And I think anybody who's ever interacted with Claire thinks that of her. So this is how I operate the community that I am the overarching authority for, right? Is that I don't choose people to put on their jackboots and stomp on people's necks, so to speak. I choose people who I think are great examples of the community. And we'll talk about Claire's perspective and Claire's situation specifically in just a second. But I think that this is also a great question for people who want to make friends at work or have friends in a school environment or et cetera, right? Like the idea here is that there are fundamental inequities of power in human relationships across the board. These inequities of power may be overt, right? This might be a person trying to be friends with their boss. This might be you have a friendly relationship with your landlord. It might be that you have a friendly relationship with a caregiver, right? This can come into parental relationships and where authority sits. But it also might be less clear, right? There are a lot of sort of systemic power differentials that occur that we may or may not be aware of. A lot of cultures grant gender power over another. It may grant an ethnicity power over another. Being aware of and conscious of the ways in which we are enabled to have authority or power over other people is really important when fundamentally building those relationships. So Claire's question is quite a bit more zoomed in than that, right? And I don't think necessarily that I have the perspective to speak on how to navigate human relationships within a greater sort of sociological power differential, right? I think that's certainly a big issue. We could talk at great length, I imagine, and get nowhere as to the source of power and what it looks like. But I want to answer Claire's specific question, right? We'll use this as a framework. Though I will say, I think that when you get things like money involved, things can get extra complicated. And we've talked about this once or twice on Hot for Teacher. This idea of someone being paid to do something that is not be your friend. I'm thinking of like the examples I gave before, your boss or your landlord. I remember working with a coworker, a peer, someone who was hierarchically oriented laterally to me, and they were promoted into a position where they were responsible for getting the most labor possible for the least amount of money from me. They became my direct supervisor, and they were empowered to use me as a resource, right? So I remember having a conversation with this person in which they said to me, "Hey, I don't want things to change between us." And I said, "I hear you. I respect that, but they have." And that's just it. It's impossible, right? Power dynamics alter relationships no matter what. You will not, Claire or anyone else in a position, even a little like this, you will not be able to avoid that change. And that's okay. That's not something that I think you need to be scared of. Because as always, communication is the thing that will ease that change, right? Now, in our particular situation, and this is definitely a derivation of my idea of how power ought to work in communities. I believe that having authority in a community, it means you are serving that community. It's not the traditional power dynamic we think of when we think of relationships, and everybody who's thinking of leather and whips and what have you. That's not the kind I mean. I think that what we're thinking of here when we think of community-oriented authority, especially mods in a community, I think that the mods serve the community. The community is what has power, and the mods are there to serve that community, to make it better, and to use their emotional energy and to use their time to improve that space. I don't think of them as custodians in the sense that they're there to clean up messes, right? I also don't think of them as cops. I think the idea that you can kind of come at with this And hopefully the community is already kind of oriented around this. But the idea you can come at here is that your newfound authority is really just an expanded ability to maintain the good behavior and excellent example you were already provided within the community, right? You were doing an awesome job being a member of the community before, and now you've been empowered to do an even more awesome job. You have been given more power to just do the thing you were already doing, but better. So in that way, I don't think that things have fundamentally changed. Now, if you believe that they have, if you think that now you are somehow responsible for hunting down bad guys and extricating them from the community with violence and power, I imagine you would want to rethink that situation. And that's me, Adam, saying that to my mod, Claire. But I don't think that's the case. So I think really when it comes down to it is like, talk about it, right? Like you belong to a community that now you have been empowered to serve. And like any well-functioning community, the people who are empowered to make a space better should be able to communicate with the people that they serve, right? So, I mean, bringing this up in real talk, bringing this up with your fellow community members and saying like, hey, I respect that I have my position in this place has changed. My name has changed color, right? I have a little sword now. And I am empowered to make this space better for all of us. What can I do to make that feel like comfortable? And like, there are going to be people who say, nothing. You've changed forever. Your sword and other color name has now alienated me and you forever. And that's a reductive and frustrating way of looking at the world, but people have bad ideas about their relationships all the time. So at least you are able to bring it out in the open and discuss it in that case, right? And I don't mean have that conversation in public exclusively, because as you are clearly aware, stepping out into a space and beginning a conversation as a mod of a community or as an authority figure, like you say, you cannot simply raise the megaphone and say, everything is fine. I am still your friend. I am not different. You're not Evita, right? Don't tell Argentina not to cry for you. Argentina will cry if they want to. That's on them. But what you can do is say, hi, everybody. I'm having some feelings about this. These are my thoughts. I am expressing them to you as a member of the same community in which you are a part. For individuals, as you observe, for individuals, reach out and talk to them, right? Talk to your friends, express that anxiety, right? Say to the people that you are a part of the community with on a one-to-one basis, hey, how are you feeling about like me being a mod now? Is that changing the way that you feel? Check in with people, right? This is a thing, and it's, I don't want to oversimplify, right? I don't want to boil a question down, Claire, to just talk to people, but like, that's kind of what it's about. I think what you can do, and this goes back to the sort of purpose of being a mod or being a person in charge of maintaining a community space. Don't come to people with a solution, right? You're still a human. You are allowed to have feelings. Moderators can have feelings. I know. Surprise. But go to people and say, like, I acknowledge this is a thing. Things have changed. I would like to know, as a person and a friend of yours, I would like to know what your feelings about that are. Right? Let them talk. And then just listen. 99% of being good to a person or a group of people is just listening to them. Hearing what they have to say. Right? And remembering that you don't have to act on that. You don't have to do anything. You can just listen. So when people say, no, it's fine. I'm totally okay with that. I feel safer having you moderate this community. I feel safer having you in a position of authority. I trust you to handle it. I believe in you to do this job, and I am thankful that you are doing this job so I don't have to, right? I'm sure there are a majority of people who are proud and excited and happy and look at you as someone who is doing a hard job that they don't want to do, right? So in a way, I think taking on that responsibility, taking on that position is likely to help increase the depth of your relationship with those people. There is a degree to which we admire the people that do the work that we don't want to do. And then, yeah, don't, like you said, coming to someone and saying, let's just act like nothing's changed. This was the problem that I had with my boss, right? This was the problem I had with my new boss. So when my new boss, formerly my colleague, came to me and said, everything's going to be the same, I said, no, fuck you, it's not. And the fact that you think that you can come to me and tell me how things are going to be means that I already am drifting away from you, right? Our friendship is disintegrating because you think that this is how it goes. I'm allergic to capitalist bullshit. If this person had come to me and said, Adam, I'm concerned about our relationship. I'm concerned about what our relationship is going to look like now. What is going to happen? I'm having anxiety, and just listen to me, right? Listen to me saying like, hey, so now your main job at work is to manipulate me into doing more work for less. That is your mandate, and thus you are my enemy. But maybe we can build around that. Maybe there's something else that we can do, right? If that person had come to me, we could have had a conversation about it. But that's not how it worked. They used their authority to tell me that how things were going to be. And it sounds to me like, Claire, you've got a pretty good handle on not doing that. So I think the main considerations here, the stuff you want to do is acknowledge the change, right? Say to people, and this is something that's it's good practice to either have this conversation with people or just to acknowledge it yourself. Like think about your relationship with other people in your life, and think about ways in which you have been given authority over them. Think about the ways in which they have consented or not consented to that authority. Being a part of the math squad, the greater math squad community, a part of that is consenting to having a group of people, the moderators, perform certain behaviors to keep that community safe. It's also agreeing to being allowed to have a discourse about those behaviors, right? We tried to build this space so that if someone has a problem with the way a mod is acting, it's not like I'm just going to say, they're a mod, shut up, and hit them with the hammer, right? We don't silence people in this community. So I would like to believe that you are going to be able to have these conversations with people and acknowledge that, like, yes, I have authority, but the authority here is a responsibility, right? I now serve you, community member. And in a way, that's the pyramidal shape of our community. It's inverse, right? There's the greater community at large that is being supported and uplifted by the mods, who hopefully feel they are being supported and uplifted by me, right? This inverse ziggurat is full of authority and responsibility rather than, like, I don't know, crayfish. So yeah, I mean, the idea here is acknowledge that there has been a change. Acknowledge that there is a shift in authority. Acknowledge what that means to you, and then let people talk. Let people tell you how they feel, and listen to their answers, right? Don't just hear them talk, but when they say things like, I feel anxious because now I'm scared that you could silence me, don't jump forward with a solution, right? I know that might be a desire, but don't jump forward and say, oh, I would never do that. Because you might have to, right? You might have to, like, ban or kick or have a talk with your mod hat on with this person, right? That is possible. But what you want is to acknowledge the change in your relationship and find a way to make it work. And just like any other relationship, you can't do it AOE, right? Relationships, no matter how much we would like them to be fireballs, they are more often fire bolts, right? You have to go through the work of having this conversation, addressing this with any person that you feel this might jeopardize or confuse or upset, right? Like, that's what having relationships is about. It's work. This is why I only have like a dozen of them. Yeah. And I guess what I really want to like nail home here is the fact that you were even thinking about it, Claire, reassures me that the mods and I made the right choice, right? The fact that you care about this and that you are thinking about this at all is part of why you were in this position in the first place. It's like whatever the reverse of a catch-22 is. You did a good thing. And it proved that this is why. So I am very proud of you, and I'm proud that you asked this question. So I'm very excited about this and the fact that you are a part of this community. So thank you. I hope that it doesn't cause you too much personal trouble. I hope that people aren't dicks to you about it. And if they are, I hope that you can turn to the other mods and to me as a means of support, because that's what we're here for. And the community too, right? So I don't know. Do you have audience? Do you have experience with shifting authorities in relationships? Have you ever been friends with your boss? Have you ever been friends with your landlord? Have you ever been in that position where somebody with with power over how your life goes tries to be your friend? It's fucking hard. It's really hard. Yeah, I don't make friends with my boss. This is why I always find it funny when people are like, well, you know, why would you write a contract? We're just friends. And it's like, no, you write contracts to stay friends, right? If you are working on a project with someone, you can compartmentalize all of the awful legal fiscal bullshit in the form of a contract, agree to do these things or not do these things, sign them, and set them aside. I'm thinking particularly of my relationship with people I am friends with who I also do like work things, like JP, for example. So JP and I would consider JP my friend, but all of our business stuff is cordoned off in a little field that we agreed to and we signed off on. So now I don't have to worry about that stuff, and he doesn't have to worry about that stuff. We agreed. We agreed when we have conversations about business, they're business conversations. But we chat about D&D and video games and other stuff on the regular, and that's not a business thing. You can compartmentalize relationships that way. At least I can. Maybe it's harder for other people. It can be very difficult. And I think that this is a myth that, without getting too much into the like capitalist authority model, this is a myth that capitalism wants us to believe in, right? This is right up there with the like, your coworkers shouldn't know how much money you make myth. The like, we should be friends with our boss myth. It does not serve you. But moderators are different. Moderators are in our case volunteers. They are people who I and the rest of the mods believe in to do the best thing for the community and who serve that community. So you're not getting special. If anybody thinks the mods get anything special aside from their own channel to talk in, it's hard work. And now you are a part of that. And I hope that people appreciate that for what it is and that they don't, I don't know, treat you different. But it's good to have conversations about that stuff. Yeah. It's good to even just bring it up. Like, thinking about this question and answering it here now today, that's good. It's been good for me, and I hope that it's been good for the other people who are in the community and how they see the mods too. Yeah, we're all working together. So, our second question comes from Mia, and I think this is one. This is one I think that's a pretty normative human experience. I think a lot of people have this experience. If you are someone who likes to express positive things to the people you know, I think you've had this problem at least once or twice, especially if you're a lady. Mia asks, how do you give friends, creators, or even random strangers compliments / positive feedback without them thinking you're flirting? I try to give honest feedback to the people that I surround myself with, and I like to point out if I appreciate or admire things about my friends. I think it's important to address both the things we really like and the stuff that we have our gripes with. I've noticed that friends, especially in the more introverted sector of my friend group, misunderstand me sometimes, and it's caused confusion and even hurt feelings as a result. I'm unsure if my delivery is wrong, or I'm sending out flirt vibes without wanting to, or why it keeps happening, but I was wondering what your take on it is. You seem to be also very vocal and encouraging in your videos with others, so I'm wondering if maybe you ran into the same difficulty, and if not, what's your secret? How do I not do... Jeez. So here's the problem that sometimes happens. And I think there's a lot of, like every fucking question we answer on Hot for Teacher, there's a lot of like deep-seated sociological stuff that's built into this question that I definitely didn't have the time or energy to go into. But I think what happens here is, first of all, flirtation is bullshit. Flirting is dumb. I hate it. I mean, I love it. It's fun to do. But as a concept, it undermines the purpose of language completely. It is exclusionary, and it's frustrating. And unless you're doing it exactly right, it is anxiety-inducing and ridiculous. So there's this secret language that we are all supposed to be able to speak, where we can say one thing and mean another, but not have our intention misread, right? Where I could say one particular thing and I could mean something different, and someone else could hear the literal thing that I say, but they could get the different thing in their head. It's completely unreasonable. It's secret code. How am I supposed to know that when someone says to me, doesn't the moon look lovely tonight? They mean, I would love to have sex with you. What, how are we supposed to know these things? No one teaches you. You are simply supposed to just understand. So I think it's really frustrating. I don't think that it's fair. I think that it is why a lot of people feel left out of a certain subset of human interaction. Not to mention how much more complicated it becomes if someone is not neurotypical, right? People on the spectrum, flirting is a nightmare. It is a burning garbage nightmare. So I think the thing here is to acknowledge that flirting is very frustrating as a thing unless everyone is on the same page. I think it can be really cute to be like, hey, are we flirting? Yes, I think we are flirting. Would you like to continue? Hell yes, I would. Boom, right? Toggle those switches, get your wavelength in order, and then flirt because you've agreed to do it. You were part of the same reciprocal flirt engine. Right? You're moving your energy in the same direction. I have 100% done that before. I've been like, hey, it kind of feels like we're flirting. Is that what's happening here? Are we doing that? Okay, let's do it. So the problem here with this like secret language, the problem with the secret flirtation language is misinterpretation. That idea that isn't the moon beautiful tonight might also mean I would like to grab your genitals. It's not fair. It's frustrating and difficult, and you can miscommunicate when all you wanted to say was, look at that big silver ass moon up there. Look at that thing. It's great. So I don't know. I think there are people that think that as soon as you acknowledge the thing, it evaporates, and I would rather have the thing evaporate than misfire, right? So I guess on the one level, normalizing talking about our feelings and what our thoughts are with our friends is important. And maybe we can't do this on a broad social scale for all humans everywhere. But with your group of friends, I think you can tell someone, hey, when I compliment you, I'm not trying to flirt with you, right? And even then, flirting, the intent of flirting isn't always like sexual. Like, I kind of like it when chat flirts with me. I like it, and I think it's fun and cute, and it's like there is this thing, this intentionality in a certain kind of flirting, right? Where people are like, I am trying to tell you that I want us to do something, or I want you to feel a certain way, or I want you to understand how I feel without having to say it. That idea that your flirting is trying to go somewhere, that is a lot of tension too. So I think you can also say, hey, I like flirting with you, but I'm not trying to like take it anywhere. I'm not trying to get you to sleep with me. It doesn't mean I want to be in a like romantic relationship with you. I just like telling you that you're cute, and I want to compliment you. So someone did this for me, and I'm not going to call them out because they might be in chat right now. Somebody did this for me on Instagram a little while ago. Someone who relatively recently discovered my channel and the stuff that I do, and discovered my Instagram, made a couple of comments on some photos, and then explicitly said to me, hey, I am going to comment on a bunch of your photos because I think they're really great, and I want to tell you that I like them. Is that okay? Would that make you uncomfortable? And I was just like, this is amazing. This is such a nice feeling. I feel so like seen, and like my feelings, you care about me. Because maybe it would be creepy if you commented on it like 100 of my photos, and I was like, what's happening? Who is this person? I'm freaking out. So like bringing it up and just asking, just saying it, it was really nice. And I think we can do this with our friends. We can talk about our communication preferences and what we feel and what we're saying. And I think this is easier the more intimate you already are with the person. So if you were already really close with them, it is a clarification. It's a way to say, hey, I like flirting with you. Doesn't mean we have to go anywhere or do anything. I just like it. It's just a thing. We're just playing, right? You could say that. You could also say, hey, I really like you. You're cute and fun, and I like surrounding myself with cute and fun people. But when I tell you that you're cute, it is an observation of an ontological truth I am observing. It's not you are cute, let me smash. I'm observing. I want you to know what I think. It is a positive compliment. It doesn't mean anything more than that. It doesn't have to. This is all stuff that we can do with our friends, right? These are things that we can bring up and we can explain and we can talk about, and communicating our feelings is really important with our friends. And I think this is a great thing to do, right? And of course, Mia, you have reason to make these comments because, like you say, who doesn't want to surround themselves with passionate, cute, talented, fashionable, fun, interesting people? That's why they're our friends. That's why we like them so much. Because they're great and we want to tell them that. But there is a deeper sociological thing that means that what we do is when we compliment someone, it means we want to get something from them, right? Hey, nice shirt. Can be construed because of the context as, hey, nice shirt. I want to get to know you better. Hey, nice shirt. I want to take it off of you. Hey, nice shirt. Let's get married and have babies and die together. Right? It's the danger of subtext. The lack of understanding that when I say, it's nice to meet you, what I really mean is, I already feel guilty about forgetting your name the next time I see you, right? Context. It's frustrating. So with our friends, we can be clear. We can say these things. We can say, hey, I want you to know the good things I think about you, right? So when I say nice things, please trust me that you don't have to read into extra subtext. If I want to make out with you, I'll be like, hey, let's make out. What do you think? Right? I will tell you. It's kind of like why saying no is so important, because it makes the yes meaningful, right? So those are the things we can do with our friends. Now, what do we do with random strangers? What do we do with that? I got a really cool compliment from a random stranger recently, and I thought it was such a good way to compliment someone on the street. It was a dude, an older dude, sitting on a bench waiting for the bus. He had his headphones on, and he complimented Blue Jay and I really loud because he was listening to music. He just turned around, and he said to me, he's like, man, I wish I had a camera, because just a second ago, you and her, she was looking at something, and you were looking at what she was looking at, and it was perfect. You're doing great. And that was it. And I was just like, what an awesome compliment. What a great thing to say to a person. It wasn't like objectifying. It just felt like a nice way to say, like, hey, I noticed something cool about the space you occupied, and I wish I could have caught it. I wish I could have, like, there was a moment and you were in it. Thank you. Like, it just felt so good. So I think there is a skill to it. There is a talent to it. And unfortunately, a lot of that talent becomes knowing what subtext has negative implications. For example, let us imagine you were a man. I mean, I know you're not, but let's imagine. So you're a man, and you are standing with some other men outside of a store, and you are waiting to get into this store. There's a lineup. I don't know. Maybe you're buying sneakers. I don't care. Do you. So you and your other men friends, you see an attractive femme presenting person walk by, and you would like to compliment that person on their appearance. Even if your intentions are merely to let this person know that you think they look cool, right? Even if your intention and your goal is to say, hey, you got cool shoes, or hey, I like your haircut, you have been robbed of the ability to do that because of the subtext. The subtext that exists there is not a positive one. That will not make that person feel comfortable. And unfortunately, you can't control that, but you can be aware of it, right? Men, don't do that. It's not your specific personal fault. It's not about you. Don't you, not all men me, but you just can't do it. You're just not in a position to make that compliment. We have been as men robbed of our ability to do that by a lot of, like, bad behavior and shitty attitudes. It's a rough time, but that's just too fucking bad. And that woman's feeling safe is more important than our ability to compliment her. That's just how it goes. Yeah, we've been robbed of it by other men being shitty. So, there's context for these things with strangers. And I think being aware of that context, and unfortunately, it means we have to kind of rein it in a little bit. So yeah, it's sad. It's sad, and it fucking sucks. This is why we can't have nice things. Someday, perhaps, by doing all of the other work that we need to do to dismantle some of the, like, imbalanced power structures, someday we'll be able to offer those compliments. But I think what we can do is use that energy elsewhere to work towards normalizing complimenting outside of that. What we could do, if you're feeling that vibe, other men, if you're feeling that vibe and you want to make some socially responsible compliment energy put out in the world, use it to diffuse homophobia instead, right? Compliment your men friends and how they look real cute, right? Notice when a man friend wears a nice outfit, right? Notice cool things that other men's do and compliment them in a way that doesn't feel like that helps reduce the homophobic response, right? That is work that we can do. Yeah. Compliment the men's in ways that this is the thing, is like complimenting is a hard thing to do because it can be perceived as objectifying behavior. It can be perceived as scary. It can be perceived as a lot of different fucked up things, which is dumb because all we want to do is just tell someone that we appreciate them. We want to tell someone that we think that they are cool. And I think that's hard because it does make the world a better place. I think every time that I have ever had someone notice that I look nice or had a stranger compliment my appearance or whatever, it has improved my day dramatically. I love it. I love being told that I am talented and cool and smart and funny and attractive. Like, who doesn't love hearing that shit? So normalize, desexualize, recontextualize compliments, and then listen to people when they tell you how they feel about it, right? But I know you can't do that with random strangers. So I don't know. I don't compliment strangers. It's a minefield for me, but I make up for it by complimenting my friends as much as humanly possible. And for me, that's an exercise in paying attention. Because if I'm constantly looking for things to tell people that I appreciate and like about them, I am paying better attention to them, right? I'm listening to what they say because I'm waiting for them to say something smart because I know they're going to. I pay attention to the things they care about. I notice when they put effort into things, and looking for ways to bolster people's self-worth makes me a better and more attentive friend. So for whatever bonus effect it has for them, honestly, it's good for me. From a purely selfish perspective, it's making me a good person. So I'm into it. So I don't know. I think you can't control what other people think of what you say. With strangers, you do not have the time to properly contextualize. I think you can, however, understand the subtext of the sociological situation in which you find yourselves, the norms of the situation, the norms of society that you are in. And you can know what people might assume. However, talk to your friends. Tell your friends what you were trying to do. Express to them that you appreciate, love, value, and think they are fucking cool, and that you would like to continue to tell them that. And that's what it means. And then when you lay that groundwork of non-flirtatious compliments, later, when you want to be flirtatious, girl, they're going to know because it's real and not fake and subtextual. So that's what I think. That's what I think about all that. I don't like flirting except when I do. And I only like it when it feels like something that everyone has agreed to be a part of, which is very hard because flirting is by its nature kind of not about expressing consent, which is dumb. So whatever. Tell people what you think. Tell people what you feel. Be straight up with them. And then decide with strangers how you feel. Honestly, I'm going to say this right now. You, and I'm talking to you like my entire audience, you can compliment me all you want. And if you do it in a creepy way, I'll just tell you. I'll just be like, hey, don't be creepy. That's creepy. And then you can trust me. Everything else is good. Unless I tell you to stop, rock and roll. You have my permission. All right. Question number 3. So this question, I love this question. So this question came from Andrew. I love this question because, and this is so good, there were literally like 25 versions of this question. Like I picked this one because it was one that I wanted to answer. I thought it was concise. But like, man, I think as soon as I show you this, you'll understand. This came up a lot. I'm answering a lot of people's questions. Okay, so this is mildly convoluted. It's not. This is very simple. I fit it into one paragraph. Okay, so this may be mildly convoluted. I have very little sexual or relationship experience, and I'm 26. Insert any number here. I got this from a 20-year-old. I got it from a 26-year-old. I got it from a 30-year-old. I got it from a 35-year-old. It's fucking fine. Put in a number there. The number is X. It doesn't matter. I have very little sexual or relationship experience, and I'm 26. This is making me feel really weird, and I'm kind of thinking I may never have a relationship. Also, I'm slowly realizing that I may not be as straight cis dude as I thought I'd been for most of my life, and it's mildly messing with my brains and feelings. I've only really been able to talk about stuff with my internet friends, but it's been really hard to come out to parents/family and IRL friends. How can someone who hasn't really dated until their late 20s break out of singleness? Help? Thanks. Also, you're the best. I'm not. I'm okay. Let's not put me on a pedestal here. We're all quite great. So, big mood, right? Lots and lots of people have this experience. There are tons and tons of people who feel like they are being rushed into romance, sex, a specific application of gender. Like, there are a lot of things where we feel like especially by a certain time in our lives, we should have certain things together. Now, this question is specifically about relationships, and I'm going to assume that Andrew means a romantic or sexual relationship because he brought that up as part of the question. But I mean, this can apply to a lot of stuff. Hi, my name is Adam. I am almost 35, and I am not married. I do not have children. I don't own a house. And to be honest, my sexual and gender identity is pretty fluid. I haven't planted a flag very deep in the ground, and it kind of wanders around moment to moment how I feel about that stuff. I feel a great deal of pressure socially to buy property, procreate, what else? Be a straight person. Like, this is about pressure in a lot of ways. And I don't feel like I want any of those things, but there was a time where I wasn't so sure. I mean, even 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a position where I felt like I had a career that was going to lead me to a better career, which was going to lead me to a better career, which was going to lead me to retirement. I was supposed to work on that. While I was doing that, I was supposed to start thinking about having a single serious relationship with a person that I could marry, because that's how you validate relationships. I was meant to then immediately have children with that person, and then I was meant to buy a house to store my spouse and children until spouse and I died, and children would get everything that I made. None of that came from me. I didn't want any of that shit. Now, it isn't to say that buying spousal storage units and having legalistic relationship rituals is not okay. It doesn't mean that squirting out some larva is not it's not allowed. If that's what you want to do, fucking rock and roll. I know lots of people with kids, and I still mostly respect them. So here's the thing. You, Andrew, and anyone like you stand at a crossroads, and before you lies all the myriad pathways your life could take. There are going to be people with megaphones screaming in your ear saying, take the main road, take this one road, right? Take the road towards sex. Take the road towards a meaningful relationship. Take the road towards deciding what your gender is. Yeah, get in the fucking minivan, put the pedal to the metal, and hurtle straight into your grave. Those people are lying to you. It's not a crossroads. There isn't one path. Life is a constantly shifting series of micro decisions. You will move in one way now, and then another way tomorrow, and in 10 days, another way. You will be flitting around like a randomized quantum particle for the rest of your life until you run out of juice and you die. And yeah, you may die in a long-term romantic relationship surrounded by your larva, but you might not. It doesn't make your death any less yours, right? And I know, you're like, Adam, I'm 26. Stop talking about me dying. But listen, you came to me for advice, and that's what you get. You're going to get relationship nihilism. Eventually, you will die, and that will be all you have. You will have your own death. You will have that moment in your hands, metaphorically speaking, and the rest of your life will be what it was. Don't judge yourself already. You're 26. I accomplished literally nothing of any value until like very recently. You are still at the very beginning of the myriad pathways, right? The things that you have done so far will represent only a tiny fraction of your life. And the person that you are now is going to be a very different person than the people you will be between now and the end of your life. And don't force 26-year-old Andrew to make decisions that you think you have to stick to. Like, if you feel like you identify as a cisgendered straight dude now, fucking go for it. But if you don't later, quit. Try on new pronouns. Date a dude. I don't know. Like, give yourself... As far as I can tell, based on my years of experience and whatever, you get one shot at this. And every time that you think that you are making a decision that will last the rest of your life, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because they won't. It reminds me of the tattoo conversation, right? Where people who are afraid to get their first tattoo come to me and they say to me, Adam, you have tattoos. How did you get over that fear that you'll have something on your body for the whole rest of your life? You know, isn't that forever? And I say, no, because eventually I'll just die. Worst case scenario, I make a decision and I regret it for the rest of my short little life. And then the universe blows out the candle and that's the end of it. So even if you make a decision right now that you're like, you know what? That was dumb. That was a stupid move. You've got the whole rest of your life to make up for it and to change it and to do different stuff. I got to tell you, it's my belief that when we get to the end of the road, when we get to this place where we look back at our lives and we're like, cool, let's check the inventory. What did we do? What do we do with our lives? I have a feeling you're not going to look back and be like, man, I wish that I'd gotten married at 26 and stayed in that relationship forever and had babies and bought a house and died in that house. I bet the thing you're going to look back at is the stuff that you didn't do. And you're going to wonder about, like, what could it have been like? Why did I save all my elixirs for the boss fight? I didn't even use them. So I don't know. Try it out, right? Give yourself the freedom to be who you are in the moment and not worry about like the future, because there is no such thing. There is no such thing as the future. Not really. No one can promise you the sun will come up tomorrow, right? And I mean that like seriously. Don't imagine that you have to make all these decisions for a person that doesn't exist yet. The stream continues on. So what do you do today? How do we feel more comfortable about this shit in the moment? Try to free yourself from external pressure, right? Remember, what makes you feel weird about not having much sexual or relationship experience at age 26? Is that coming from outside of you? Is someone else telling you that? Is it a person, right? Is this your parents or your friends pressuring you to like get into a relationship or have a sex? Is this a greater social pressure like the one I felt when I thought that I was supposed to wife up and make some larvae, right? It wasn't a person making me feel that way. I didn't have anybody telling me that, but you get this pressure from outside as well, right? So where is that pressure coming from? And if it's coming from you, if you actually want your life to change, if you're like, damn, I am curious about having a sex. I would like to be in a romantic relationship. There are things you can do to do that. And one thing that Andrew didn't mention, but that a lot of questions, especially from non-binary or women question askers for this one, the follow-up to this is making me feel weird is how do I deal with being in a relationship with someone? How do I tell them that I don't have much sexual experience? What do I do? How do I not let them down? Fuck that. Find someone for whom your lack of experience is not a liability. If somebody rolls their eyes or scoffs or makes fun of you for not having experience, or like does some sex stuff with you and speaks negatively of you for your lack of experience, get the fuck out of there. You are not doing a sex. You are not being in a relationship to serve someone else. Okay, maybe some of you are, but that's advanced stuff. That's not what I'm talking about right now. You are more than the experience you can provide someone. You are more than that. And yeah, it's cool to want to be good at relationships. That's why we're here. That's why we're having this conversation. It's good. You want to be good at the things that you do, but this is a deeply pervasive problem that I think a lot of people have. That's not just about relationships, but this difficulty at not being good at something and like hating yourself for not being good at it. Trying and being like, I have no experience, so I will never have experience. So I don't ever want to try because I'm not already perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is ever perfect at anything. Just accept your lack of experience as being a part of who you are. It's not a problem. You're not broken. You're not wrong. It's okay. Right? So it's fine. It's fine to not be perfect at shit. It's fine not to have experience. Everybody has no experience when they are born, and you will die not having experienced things. There's no way to get good at anything unless you practice, and sometimes it's fine not to be great at it. Again, sex and relationships is not about pleasing people, unless it is, but that's not what we're talking about. And that's different. So I don't know. Don't stress about not being already perfect at a thing that you haven't done much. Let yourself be inexperienced. Be okay with that. Let it be part of your ongoing personhood. And then let yourself change, right? Just like you reassess your straight cis dudeness, reassess your idea of yourself as an inexperienced person. And don't put so much pressure on your lack of experience with sex or romance, because I bet you have experience with people in other ways. I'm going to be real with you. People skills are pretty transferable, right? The only reason that I am any good at relationships is role-playing games. I'm not even kidding you. That's the only reason. And the only reason that I'm good at like business stuff with other people is because role-playing games. Like you find the shit you're good at and you use that to get good at other stuff. Because honestly, being good at people things is pretty much just like listening to people, paying fucking attention, being respectful and decent, and then practicing. And you find a way to practice that's comfortable. I am comfortable talking to groups of people from a position of relative authority because I'm a good dungeon master. It's hard. It's really fucking hard. But you're already better at humans than you think that you are. It's about experience. It's about practice. It's about finding that space to value your own contributions to being around people. Yeah. So how do we talk about this with people? Right? Like, how do we bring this up? Because this, I think, is really hard, because you get into that territory where it may not be like acceptable for you to talk about your feelings. It may be difficult for you to engage that thing, because you might be told, like, just man up, just tough it out, right? Stop whining. Your sensitivity is the reason why nobody wants to have sex with you. The fact that you keep talking about your feelings is why chicks won't like you. Fuck all that. Fuck all of it. It's a lie. It's a lie, and it's dumb, and it's totally okay for you to talk about your feelings and to be real about stuff. And anyone who tells you those things, they are lying to you, and they're jerks. I don't tend to prioritize parents and family members over other people. I don't tend to prioritize AFK friends from K friends, right? I don't like my internet friends are my real friends. My in-person friends are my real friends I see in person more often. Like, there's no difference for me. And maybe it's different from you, but you can practice. And maybe you can practice having voice conversations with your internet friends, right? Because I find text easier, but you can't text. I mean, you can text somebody who you're in person with, but maybe you want to have a voice conversation. So maybe invite some of your keyboard friends, invite some of your internet friends to have like a voice conversation with you over Discord or whatever, and then bring these things up. Honestly, I am someone who has only kind of like officially, like for real, like come out to like, I mean, like outside of chat, which is weird, but outside of chat or like Twitter or social media, I don't think I've ever sat someone down and been like, hey, I'm not a straight person. Like, it just, that's not an experience that I have had. But maybe that's something that has value to you. Maybe that's reaffirming. I like being a fluid, like a blob. But maybe you need to feel like comfortable solidifying that stuff. But you don't have to. It's not like no one's going to come and like give you a hard time if you decide like, hey, I'd like to use different pronouns, but I'm not sure about them. And then later you change it. I don't think anyone's going to, the fucking gay police aren't going to come to your house and like bust you for not coming out to your mom. Right? Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do to make you feel comfortable and safe. And maybe that includes practicing coming out with your internet friends before you do it. Maybe that means just never coming out to certain people. That's your life. And if you want to break out of singleness, if you want to like date people, stop looking at your lack of experience as a weakness, because it isn't. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. It's just part of who you are. That's the place I would start. And all I can do is reassure you that if you were 80 and you'd never been in a relationship, I'd be telling you the same fucking thing. The fact that you do not have a bunch of experience with stuff does not make you a bad person or undateable or whatever. You'll figure it out. And you want to find people that will support you. And it's actually not impossible. I believe in you. You can do it. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm just trying to reassure you. You, Andrew, and the like billions of other people who submitted the exact same question to me. Listen, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you have the sex or if you ever have it. It doesn't matter if you have never had a romantic relationship or you have had a ton. You're still like a good person and worth spending time with. And if you want to have a sex relationship and if you want to have a romance relationship, do it. You're not less valuable to the people that you are going to be with. Not at all. That's it. That's what I got. That's what I got for today. I hope it has been uplifting or at least interesting. I love getting to talk about this stuff. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. Claire, Andrew, Mia, you got me thinking about some good shit today, so I appreciate that. That's it. That's it for this week's episode. If you have a question for me that I have not answered yet, I mean, maybe I already have. I don't care. Submit them anyway. www.adam-koble.com. There's a Hot for Teacher link. You click that, fill out the form, and then I will answer your question. Or I will answer a question that is very much like yours, hopefully. We do this every couple of weeks, Tuesday mornings. If you missed any of it or you want to watch the back episodes? The episodes are full of issues, and if you want to watch them, they're on YouTube. Go ahead and check that out. Thank you again for coming, everybody. We will see you next time.